Hi Silva, welcome to your video feedback. I'm just going to talk through things that I'm spotting in your work, either improvements or things you've done well. Okay, so one thing that we need to talk about is just your handwriting. It's illegible in a lot of places, but also your spelling, which I'm just going to ask you about, just in case you've ever had a dyslexia assessment or anything like that. So something like sense with a C tells me that there might be an issue with your spelling, so I don't know whether this is something that's come up in the past, but it might be something that we look at. I like that you've started your introduction by bringing the two texts together. That works really well. Okay, just be careful about your punctuation down here. You probably need a full stop before you start that, because otherwise you've got a very long sentence there. So this is an interesting question. Which one's easier? The other. Okay, you might think about why he's trying to gain information. So obviously it's a situation that you didn't know much about and therefore wants the details because he wasn't there, which is why he's kind of using interrogatives. So try and use the terminology as well instead of question, that we get an interrogative instead. Okay, friendly nature, 3D. Okay, good. Okay, good. Okay, you followed that through, you've really analysed it, so analysis is very good. We do need to address your handwriting and spelling, as I've said already. Another thing is just following the frameworks and making sure that those are used. So if you use the writing frames, it just makes sure that your paragraphing is a little bit more structured, because what you've done is kind of included a lot of things. You've not really separated the introduction up from the analysis either. So we need to make sure that the introduction is very separate, looking at audience and purpose, then moving on to analysing how the audience is addressed, then moving on to all the other steps. So each of those steps within the framework needs to be a separate paragraph on its own of comparison between the two, whereas what you've got is a list about text A. Okay, what would have made your sentence down here a little bit clearer is just referring it to it as text B. That would have helped the situation there. Okay, we need something a little bit more specific up here, because we've got through the certain choices of language. What you're actually referring to is a simile, which is part of the figurative language used. So try to be really specific with your terminology there. Okay, again, you've moved on to purpose here as if it's a sole consideration on its own, and really the consideration of purpose, audience and context should be integrated throughout the writing frame, so that you're looking at each of the steps individually, analysing them together. Okay, good. Your level of analysis is really good. You're picking up on the right things. You're thinking about how the audience feels and what we pick up on during analysis. So really it's just the overall structure that we need to think about. I'm not quite sure what happened with your handwriting here. Yeah, something we need to talk about. Excellent. You've got some really close analysis down here by looking at the word strong and its effect. So looking closely at individual words can often get you quite a lot of marks in the exam. I've just chopped off the top of your picture here, so it might be worthwhile looking at the text in your essay booklet as you watch this last little bit. Okay, what I'm guessing from the number 2 you've used on this paragraph is that you've actually separated up framework 1 and talked about it at length, and then framework 2. What you need to do with the frames is that each number is one single paragraph. So that will enable you to conduct analysis across the whole range of terminology, ensuring that you look at text A and text B equally, and you'll have a lot more structure to your essay in that respect, and get through a lot more in the time, which is probably something you're looking to do. Okay, I'd say overall structure is what we're looking at, and hopefully when we've looked at sample responses this week, that should help you to understand a little bit more of what's required in that respect. So overall structure, I think your analysis is there, so we just need to make sure that all the other bits are. Okay, thanks Silva.